Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris from Lime Punch Forge. Today, I'm going to follow through with a promise that I made a while ago. And that was, I'm going to show you how to texture and make a cherry blossom from a Potter USA cherry blossom die. So, this is what we got. This is what we're gonna make. This is how it starts. So, yeah. Am I even in the camera? I am good. All right. So we're going to do that. But before we begin, we're going to ask you to please like, dislike, comment, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Right down here, little red button. It likes to be pushed. Push it. All right. Now that we've got that silliness out of the way, let's do cherry blossom patterns. And the reason I'm drawing this is because we're going to talk about how metal moves before we actually begin moving metal. So here's our cherry blossom. Put that next to it. And if we were to hammer texture this, the entire metal as a whole will move. As we hammer, it's going to get bigger as one whole piece of metal. What we want to do is isolate that, because in the cherry blossom, I want to teach how to layer those petals. So in order to isolate one part of the metal from another, I'm going to need to separate it. That way, I make saw cuts on each of these individual petals, and then I hammer each one individually. And as I hammer them, I make sure they're layered. And I'll show you how to do that. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to mark one side of the metal, and we're going to texture and spread out with a cross peen just that one side while we have the other one lifted up. So we'll stretch and spread that metal out underneath the next one, and then we'll pull the next one down. We'll do the same thing, and we're just going to go in a circle all the way around. Now once we do that, we're going to have basically layered underneath each of the one sides, but we're going to have the other side not textured. So we're going to take our anvil, our bench block, whatever you have to hammer on, hopefully a square edge, and we're going to isolate and texture, spread out the other side so that it goes under the other one. So one's going to be under, one's going to be over. Now with a, let's do a side petal here. We're going to do that. So if I hammer here, all this metal moves together. But if I have a petal and they're together, and then I separate them with a little bit of line, and I hammer just this one side, all this metal is going to move underneath the other one if I let it. So that's exactly what we're going to do, is we're going to texture one side, move it underneath the next, go to the next one, texture one side, move it under the next, and then go back after we anneal and do some more working on it. So that is what we're going to do. If you haven't checked it out already, check out our free giveaway. I'm giving away a lot of crystals and polished rocks. Everybody loves crystals and polished rocks. I love crystals and polished rocks, which makes me wonder why I'm giving them away. But I absolutely love you guys as viewers, and I want to make sure that we grow as a whole, and you guys keep on getting more good information. Hopefully you believe it's good information. And yeah, we make something out of this. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you at the bench here in just a second. Subscribe. Tighten my saw blade, and this doesn't take much pressure, just a light push with my thumb, and then as I got pressure on it, I'll twist it down, and then it should make this noise. So doesn't have to be super tight, but it should be tight enough that it cuts. So I'm gonna grab some saw lube here. Put that little bit of that on, a little dab will do you. And I'm going to take and find my camera lens, cut each of these right along the line that we talked about. Let me find my marker. No marker. There we go. All right. So I'm going to cut right along these lines. Not very far, just enough for the metal to move where I want it to move when I start hammering. And I try and count my saw blades too, so, or my saw strokes. So that wasn't a full one. We'll count that as a half. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Knocked into my bench pin. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I got one more. 1, 2. All right, I'm gonna do one more real quick, and then I'll show you what they look like. 1, 2. Let's do. Now let's take it in this one too. 1, 2, 3. Shoot. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Line. 2. That's about right. And that's all of them. I'll try and make sure they're all about the same length. And then what I have, that one needs some more. Perfect. All right, so what I have are these guys that are sawn just a little bit deeper than that pedal. And like I was saying before, what's going to happen is when we start texturing that metal, drawing it out this way, these are going to start to overlap each other and we'll get the effect of layering. So let's go ahead and anneal our metal and clean off those burrs, and we'll get to the texturing part. Cherry blossoms, gotta love them. Gotta love rocks too. Let's look at those real fast. We have some labradorite, some morrisonite. This is a jasper agate that I get locally from where I'm at. This one's not quite polished yet, but you can see that black in there kind of turns a metallic, probably magnetite. Yeah, it's pretty. And some botryoidal carnelian. I love botryoidal stuff. And this fella, this is a Brazilian carnelian feather that I carved. Alright, done with distractions. We'll get on to the... Alright, we're back. I have my annealed copper, and you can see kind of the lines in between each of. There's a nice airspace in between. What we're going to do is we're going to hammer on these petals and spread that metal out and layering it, effectively layering it. We'll get rid of those gaps. So what we're going to want to do is the same thing we talked about in other videos, is we're going to hammer in the center and fan. Hammer in the center and fan. But before we fan, we're going to, I did this off camera, mark each side that we want to go underneath. So I know exactly what side I'm working on first, because I'm going to layer the bottoms first. So what I've done here is I've marked, I'm going to take this petal, I'm going to bend it up so that this one will spread out and layer underneath that one. So let's do that. Make sure we can see what's happening. just tiny taps. You want that to spread. And there will probably be quite a bit of annealing in this process. And you can see that it's already started to layer. Now what's going to happen more, that layering is going to be magnified as soon as we start dapping the center of that flower down, because everything's being pulled down into a cup. So next one, I'm going to bend up, layer. Now I've got that one layered. Next one, I'm going to bend up. Remember, center, fan. And I'm moving the metal underneath the hammer. Not hard, you're not looking to break through the metal, you're just looking to spread it out and texture it. So that one's starting to go. And then the next one, we're going to fold that one up. And same thing. This one is going to go under. And this one I got to be careful with because I've already bent it and I've already hammered part of it. So the rest of it's going to be hard. So hammer in the center. Spread it out. Bend this up a little bit more so it gets layered into there. And that is effectively layered, but I only have texture on one side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to anneal, and then I'll come back and I'll just lightly texture the other side. So, all right, we're annealed, and that's what we're left with once we quench. So what I'm going to do is even out that fan pattern. And what that's going to do is further layer and spread out those petals. So I'm going to use the edge of my anvil or bench block or what do you have, and I'm going to isolate that part of the petal because I know it's going to go over and not under. So I don't need to worry about it going over, or excuse me, under. So that's layered. This next one here, I'm going to do, and then again I'm moving my metal, not my hammer. There's the next one, and then this one. Next one. A little bit too much there. So all I'm going to do is take a file. And I'm just going to shave that off a little. Round it. Do I have any more? Yeah, I got a little bit more to do. Let's do this next one. You can see it's already starting to cup. It's going to it looks like a propeller. It's going to take off any minute now. Okay. Remember, not hard. Just little tiny taps to stretch the metal out and texture it. All right, bend that one down. And I think I've got one more. Where's it at? Here. All right. So now that we have that layered, what I'm going to do now is anneal again, and I'll come back with my wood block, and I will start dapping that down. So stay tuned. All right, we're annealed again. I have my wood block here, and I'm gonna try not to send it flying all over. So I have wood block, and I have my holes drilled into it, just different sizes all over the place. What that allows me to do is it allows me to dap this down into a hole without hurting some of the texture. So some of these you can just gently push and start to form. So on this one I'm going to push, make sure that all my petals are layered like I want them, which it looks like we're doing pretty awesome. And then I could use a brass mallet, but I want to be super careful, so I'm going to use my rawhide. I'm just going to tap, tap, and okay, see how those are layered more so now? I'm going to bring that down a little bit more. Tap, tap, tappity tap, tap, tap. All right. Now that we have this pushed down, I'm going to tighten that up a little bit by sticking it in another hole here. See how that tightened up? Also didn't center it, so my bad. So we'll center that. Okay, now we have that. And what we're just going to do is slowly bend those down a little bit. Open them back up, because we want that center to stay as an impression. So there's that. And now that I've done this, it's the happy A word. We're annealed again. And now I'm just going to go ahead and tighten that up a little bit more. Good. So we got a flower. And then I'm going to, best thing to do is grab your round nose pliers. And just grab the tip of that flower and just curl it ever so slightly. Just go around and do that. And you have to hum while you do it. Or not. Okay, now I've got a little bit more plasticity in that metal, so I'm going to see about maybe doing some texturing on this. And what I'm going to do is just what do I want to do? I'm going to find a spot on the side of this thing. Maybe it's a heavy anvil. Ooh, left side. Okay. I'm gonna find an edge of this anvil and a cross peen, and I'm just gonna bend them over using the anvil or the wood as just kind of a guide. What that's going to do is bend the sides down and keep the center up. You can do this with pliers if you want. I like the way it moves with wood because it's not necessarily uniform. We're just going to round the end of those out a little bit. And then we got this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with a hammer not a hard one. So I like to use a hammer and another hammer as a force. So what I'm doing is just, I know where the force is going, and I can easily direct it without necessarily hurting anything else. And if you want, you can separate those to add a little bit of depth. And then I'm going to do another dap in the center. I'll do that on a wood block so you can see what's going on. That's just going to pull things tighter together. There you go, cherry blossom. You can solder in some stamens or something like that. Solder this to another piece. Kind of sky's the limit with little flowers like this. But that's how I layer. That's how I add a little bit of texture. And we talked about it in the first part of this. These sections need to be separated from each other before you do your texturing, before you spread that metal out. Otherwise, everything is going to spread as one big mass, and we want each of these little petals to spread independently. So in order to do that, we need to saw in between the petals. So yeah, leave a comment, hit the like. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe for notifications of more awesome videos and adventure and all that kind of fun stuff. If you haven't already checked out our free giveaway of crystals, please do so, because yeah, free crystals. Who doesn't want free crystals? I know I do, which is weird because I'm giving them away. So I really like you guys. Hope you like the videos. Have a good day. Appreciate you. Subscribe button's right down there in case somebody didn't see it. The little red one.